Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Daniel with Adam's Campsite. So today I want to go ahead and share a story with you. Now, this story is actually a story that I used to utilize in base training to help inspire or motivate soldiers in training. You know, a lot of people would inspire them by telling them stories or by kind of motivating them, giving them speeches. Now, I myself used to like speeches. I used to like talk about some good things that you could expect when you get out of base training, and the camaraderie and the teamwork and loyalty, 7 Army values and stuff. I mean, all that was true. But I used to utilize this speech, and I wanted to go ahead and share this speech with you. And let me know what you think on the comments below. Let's get started. I remember when I was a small kid watching war movies or documentaries of D-Day, where heroes headed towards the shores of Omaha Beach. How does anyone ever muster the courage to jump onto a boat that's going to move towards enemy fire? Can you imagine running and grunting through the water towards enemy fire with bullets snapping, pinging, and zipping past you while you're trying to seek cover in the open? Did you know that on D-Day, the first initial wave suffered at least 10,000 casualties and more than 4,000 killed? How could I or anyone ever be as courageous as those who jumped onto that combat boat that day? I can never understand how someone could have such courage, and yet here you had thousands of individuals. Well, one day I was placed in a situation that gave me that answer. In the early morning of March 2nd, 2002, during the Operation Anaconda, our platoon was staged in preparation to load up on Chinooks to participate in the first large mission in Afghanistan. Earlier that morning, 2 of our platoons in our company departed and headed to their objective located in the Anaconda Valley in the mountainous terrains of Afghanistan. I remember working on my rucksack on the staging area as part of the second phase of the mission, when suddenly I heard over the radio, enemy contact, enemy contact. After a few further updates from the individual on the other end of the radio, he then said something I hadn't heard but only in training. We have 1 casualty. Throughout my 5 years as an infantryman in the military at the time, we trained and pretended to be shot or wounded for the worst possible situations. It never felt real, but on that day and moment, it was like snapping into reality. We weren't just boys in a school fraternity or playing army. This was real. The only time I ever heard those words at the time, we have casualties, were during our training events. But now, they were real, and someone's life was in jeopardy. Right away, our platoon got up and began headed towards our Chinook. They loaded us up with extra ammo and medical equipment, and then notified us that we were the quick reaction force. As the team leader at the time, I was the last individual to load the Chinook, which meant I would be the first to exit. Once on the Chinook, the gunner that was sitting on the ramp yelled into my ear, because the aircraft was so loud, I need you to relay for me. I need you to relay for me. It was my job as the last man on the aircraft to relay all instructions to the entire platoon on updates and countdowns of when to get ready to exit the Chinook. After a few minutes in the air, he yells to me, LZ is hot, LZ is hot, which meant there was enemy on the ground where we're landing. A few minutes went by, and again he yells instructions, LZ is hot, when we land, run for cover. And again, I relay the message out loud to the aircraft. At that very moment, while sitting on the uncomfortable Chinook chairs, I remember bowing my head and praying for a moment. But when I raised my head just for a second, I could swear I felt and saw a green aurora on the platoon in the aircraft. Everyone had their eyes closed or had bowed their head. The moment was disrupted by the gunner yelling, 10 minutes. Again, I yelled 10 minutes to the entire platoon. Everyone stood up and faced the ramp. At that very moment, all I could think of was the movie Saving Private Ryan. The images of ramps coming down and everyone being shot. The gunner yelled again, 5 minutes, hot LZ. When we land, run for cover. As the final commands prior to landing, I turned around and gave an aggressive yell so everyone in the back could hear me now that everyone was standing. The yelling emphasized and amplified the seriousness of the moment, which made it more surreal as we faced the ramp. Yes, it was very scary, a very scary moment, especially when having to be the first one off the ramp at a hot LZ. That's when it hit me. At that very moment, I realized my question was answered. However, not only did I get my answer to how I ever could jump into a D-Day boat, but also when did I jump into the boat. It wasn't when I jumped onto the Chinook that day, or when I jumped on an airplane to head to Afghanistan, or even PCS to the glorious 10th Mountain Division. No, it wasn't none of those times. It was the day when I jumped on the bus to head to basic training from San Antonio, Texas, that I knew I had jumped in on that combat boat with those men. So thank you so much for joining me and listening to my quick story on how I realized when I jumped into the boat that day. Again, I appreciate your time. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this content, and I catch you on the flip side.
I'm from a town where things are as good as they come, and it's pictured in my mind just as clear as the midday sun.